Trump or Biden? Who has a better chance of winning the upcoming elections? Or are there other significant figures who could compete for a place in the White House? Today, I will break down with you all the main differences in the policies of all candidates, whom and who sympathizes more, and in the end, I will answer the main question: who is most likely to win if the situation doesn't change? Donald Trump. And I'll start with the former president of the United States and the most prominent candidate in the current elections, Donald Trump. Twice impeached and accused of interfering in the change of power in 2020, he, despite numerous criminal charges, still has a good chance of returning to the White House. And very good ones, believe me. Against the backdrop of accusations and criticism, his ability to participate in the elections is still in question. But Trump continues to lead among Republican candidates, outpacing them by almost 40%. This demonstrates his incredibly strong positions, although it seemed that he had lost influence amid scandals. Trump rejects accusations against him, considering them politically motivated. His recent success in Iowa, where he scored a notable victory, brought him even closer to nomination by the Republican Party, especially after Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, dropped out of the race, leaving Nikki Haley, former US ambassador to the UN, as his only opponent. But I'll tell you about her a little later. For now, here are the main reasons that could lead Trump to victory over the incumbent Democrat Joe Biden in the November 2024 elections. Label 3. Dissatisfied voters. And the first reason is dissatisfaction with the actions of the current government. And I sincerely understand these people. The Biden administration claims to be improving the economic situation. The unemployment rate has dropped to almost record lows of 3.7% from 6.3% under Trump, and inflation has increased from a peak of 9% in June 2022 to 3.4% by December. However, public opinion is divided. Many, including representatives of minorities and youth, notice that wages are not keeping up with the rise in the cost of basic goods and services, such as food, cars, housing, as well as childcare and elderly care. For Americans, the economy is closely tied to housing affordability, not just official economic indicators. And here, everything is said. Surveys show that the majority of voters consider the Republican Party more competent in managing the economy, despite the fact that Trump has only outlined the general contours of his economic program. Trump scares. Moreover, in my humble opinion, Trump skillfully plays on people's fears. Voters are concerned about issues beyond economic problems. Trump addresses the fears felt by many white Americans about the increasing cultural and ethnic diversity of the country. He talks about the sense that traditional aspects of the American dream, such as home ownership, fair wages matching inflation, and access to higher education, are becoming increasingly out of reach of ordinary people. The public is also concerned about rising crime and tension due to migrants illegally crossing the border with Mexico. Trump adeptly uses these fears, positioning himself as an outsider to the established US political system. His appeal is built on the idea that he can solve these problems and give his supporters a sense of security. For many people, this is much more important than any economic statistics. Victim. Despite criticism from some members of his own party, Democrats, and the media, who doubt his fitness for office, many voters with this opinion disagree. Many of Trump's supporters see him as a victim of politically motivated attacks. According to a Reuters poll conducted earlier this year, at least half of Republicans said they were willing to support him in the elections even if he was accused of crimes attributed to him. Trump can also remind people of his 4 years in power, emphasizing that the state machine functioned, albeit sometimes chaotically, despite concerns about his inability to govern the country. Furthermore, the most serious allegations, such as alleged collusion with Russia, have not been substantiated, and the policies of the current administration put the whole world at risk of a third world war. Biden's chances. Okay, we've dealt with Trump, but what about the current president? And here, everything is very ambiguous. When Joe Biden took office in January 2021, many saw him as a transitional president. His task was to heal the country's wounds after 4 tumultuous years of Donald Trump's rule and not try to become a transformative figure, and then hand over the reins to a worthy successor. By 2024, questions about the strengths and weaknesses of Biden's first term are causing debates. But Biden's decision to run for a second term has become a stumbling block for Democrats. Polls collected by the US political website 538 show a low approval rating for Biden, less than 40%. Former President Trump, the inevitable Republican candidate who has already secured his participation in the national elections with victories in the primaries in Iowa and New Hampshire, has pulled ahead in the showdown with Biden in almost every swing state.
Oh, those election campaigns. Speaking of races, if you speed on the roads, you could end up in an accident. What should you do if you're in an accident in America? You don't have billions of dollars or a team of lawyers to turn to for help, right? Where can you find a competent attorney? How can you get compensation if you don't have insurance? The company accident. America has helped its clients receive $21 million in compensation. They will definitely answer all your questions. The link is in the description.
Can he drop out of the election? But if everything is so bad, can Biden withdraw his candidacy and give way to a more promising Democratic candidate? Or is it too late? Technically, no. Biden can declare for any reason that he no longer seeks a second term. If he did this before March, other Democrats would still have a little time to get on the ballots of many primaries. Although the deadlines for filing applications in more than 30 states, which account for about 2/3 of the delegates, have already passed. If this had not happened by then, his successor would be determined during a tense struggle at the party convention scheduled for the end of August. If the Democratic Party had not changed the rules, delegates obligated to vote for Biden would come to the convention uncommitted, and thus lobby and eventually vote for a replacement. However, in practice, Biden's chances of changing course now seem slim. The two main reasons to continue the campaign have not changed since April of last year, when Biden announced his intention to run for a second term. Firstly, Biden is the only candidate who has proven he can defeat Trump. Secondly, there's no obvious successor. The real reason Biden is running. Biden has made it clear that his decision to run is linked to Trump's candidacy, saying directly, "He is running, so I have to." Despite claiming that he alone is capable of defeating Trump, Biden feels his advantage as he has already proven he can do it. But can he do it again? That's my main question. There are reasons why Biden received the Democratic nomination in 2020. His blue-collar background, appeal to moderate voters, and ability to present himself as the most electable Democrat led to his unexpected victory in the primaries. In the general election, Democrats' trust in him was justified. Biden won key swing states, including Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Pennsylvania, which in 2016 favored Trump over Hillary Clinton. Unlike regular elections, 2024 will most likely resemble a referendum on Trump rather than a re-election of the incumbent president. Many saw Vice President Kamala Harris as Biden's natural successor, but there are few now. If Biden's ratings are disappointing, then Harris's are catastrophically low. Other prominent candidates from 2020, such as Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg or Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, could have replaced Biden, but they lost to him in 2020 and failed to unite moderate and progressive Democrats. Therefore, they have no chance now. Immigration policy. Separately, I would like to compare both candidates in the context of the main stumbling block of the current political agenda. Former US President Trump pursued a strict immigration policy aimed at reducing illegal migration. He imposed restrictions of refugees, tightened rules for family migration, limited opportunities for children of illegal immigrants, reduced the availability of work visas and green cards, and even attempted to abolish the visa lottery. As a result, legal immigration fell by 49%, and many foreigners lost the chance to obtain US citizenship. In contrast to Trump, President Biden has chosen the path of easing immigration rules, seeking to attract skilled professionals to various sectors of American business. he has introduced innovations such as annual adjustment of the work visa limit based on economic needs and requests from local businesses, as well as offering special conditions for holders of advanced degrees and startup entrepreneurs. Biden has also imposed a moratorium on deportation prisons and plans to increase the quota for H-1B work visas. Despite these changes, the question of simplifying the immigration process in the United States remains open, as many of Biden's reforms are initially aimed at the illegal immigrants already in the country. Significant support from Congress will be required for radical changes in the situation with immigration visas. Biden criticized Trump's immigration policy, calling it a national disgrace, and stated that his task is to correct the mistakes of the previous administration, not to engage in legislation. However, not all states agree with such a statement. Texas, for example, has already taken up arms to somehow contain the flow of migrants. Dean Phillips. But is there any alternative to Trump and Biden? Yes, from both the Democrats and Republicans. Let me tell you more about it. The first is Dean Phillips, known as a successful businessman and astute politician. But his first attempt to become president was unsuccessful. Phillips, a millionaire and congressman from Minnesota, loves to recall a moment from his childhood when at the age of 11 he watched the Olympic hockey game in Lake Placid between the USA and the USSR, later dubbed the Miracle on Ice. This match, in which the Americans won, became a lesson for him that any goal can be achieved despite difficulties. Therefore, he decided to try his luck again. Now, challenging the incumbent president, Phillips is confident that he can represent the Democratic Party in the elections, although his chances seem quite slim. His life is full of successes in business, which sharply contrasts with his failed presidential campaign. Dean is often compared to his father, a U.S. Army captain who died in Vietnam. After Dean's father's death, he was raised by his stepfather, the head of a major alcohol company, who provided him with all the opportunities for a successful future. Inspired by a lecturer, a former congressman at school, Phillips' political beliefs were influenced. Phillips unexpectedly entered politics, influenced by the 2016 elections and his daughter's reaction to their results. He successfully ran for Congress from a traditionally Republican district, focusing on criticizing the political system and readiness to engage in dialogue with Republicans. However, his decision to run for president, despite full support for Biden's policies, was surprising. Phillips focused his campaign on Biden's age and leadership style, while his own political positions remained ambiguous, especially after he expressed readiness to change his views if someone decided to fund his campaign. Nikki Haley. You might ask, who can replace Trump from the Republicans? Former U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley. She unexpectedly entered the 2024 presidential race. Haley announced her candidacy, emphasizing the intention to offer a new approach to U.S. politics and criticizing the current President Joe Biden and the Washington establishment. Haley spoke of the need for a change in the generation of leaders and pointed to the intention to confront China, Russia, and Iran, as well as expressed dissatisfaction with the Republican Party's past failures in presidential elections. Nikki Haley, born into a Sikh immigrant family from India, is proud of her heritage and has impressive political experience, including serving as governor of South Carolina. She became the first woman of Indian descent to hold such high positions in American politics. During her governorship, Haley faced serious challenges, such as the church shooting in Charleston and the killing of an African American by a police officer, which attracted national media attention and societal unrest. But she handled it with dignity. Relations between Haley and Trump were ambiguous, especially after her criticism of his behavior after the 2020 elections and the Capitol riots. Despite previous statements of unwillingness to run against Trump, Haley decided to enter the race, to which Trump reacted positively, stating that he's glad she decided to follow her heart. Prospects. What are her chances of success? Nikki Haley's prospects of surpassing Donald Trump in the race for the Republican Party's nomination currently look unclear, with her support being less than 10% among Republicans. Despite this, Haley is actively engaged in the fight, emphasizing her youthfulness and the need for a new generation of leaders, proposing mandatory mental competence tests for politicians over 75 years old. This directly concerns both Trump and Biden, with their ages being 78 and 82 respectively by the time of possible assumption of office. Haley has declared her tough stance on China, Russia, and Iran, as well as support for Israel and Ukraine. She criticizes Biden's actions in the Russian-Ukrainian crisis and advocates for maintaining open relations with Russia, despite accusation of Russian interference in American elections. Haley positions herself as a hawk of the Republican Party, unlike Trump, who calls for avoiding escalation in the international relations. Trump warns of the risk of a third world war and criticizes the current administration for its foreign policy, believing that it could lead to a global conflict. At the moment, Trump has a higher level of support and approval in society than any of the candidates. But due to the accusations against him and the looming threat of legal action, these elections could end very unexpectedly. So, subscribe to the channel. I'll try to give you objective information if something changes drastically. Thanks for watching.